Listen, we celebrate all business owners on this show. The Business Shower Podcast, a space where business owners can shine. Building systems has to be a way of life. Having your own business just never felt so good. It's time to stop relying on 9-to-5s to take care of our families. Shout out to all business owners, because you know what? We are the real villagers.
To the Business Shower Podcast, a podcast for business owners to shine. Today we have Emily Levy. Did I say it right, Emily? Because I butcher everybody's name. I don't know what is wrong with me.
You were close enough. Levy.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you tell our listeners who you are and what your business does.
Sure, sounds good. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today. I am the founder and director of EBL Coaching, which is a one-on-one tutoring program that helps students who have different types of learning and attentional challenges build their core skills in reading, writing, math, and study skills. We work with kids as young as the preschool level, and we go all the way up through the adult level. So it's really a wonderful wide range of students that we work with. We use all research-based multisensory techniques that are catered to the needs of each student. And we provide the tutoring not just locally in person in the New York and the New Jersey areas, but we also work with students actually worldwide using our virtual platform and have been able to help so many kids and adults using this modality.
Oh my God. So I'm so happy to be talking to someone from the tri-state area, right? I finally got somebody on my podcast from Jersey. So are you in Jersey or are you in?
Right now I'm in Jersey. I'm in Jersey, and I have offices both in New York and New Jersey. So I kind of hop back and forth a little bit.
Okay. Awesome. So how did you start this business? Like, what made you want to come up with this type of business?
Yeah, great question. I actually grew up in the field of special education. My mother was the founder of a school for students with learning disabilities down in South Florida, which is where I'm from, where I grew up. Okay. So I spent so much of my childhood working at her school, observing kids, observing teachers, and seeing what a life-changing difference it could be for these kids to have the right support and the right teaching methods in place. With that said, of course, I thought I wanted to carve my own path. After college, I actually did finance for a couple of years, quickly realized it wasn't for me, and pivoted back to education, where I ended up getting my master's degree in special education as well as my doctorate degree in education, and just have found so much passion in being able to help these kids, these adults, to really build their academic skills.
Okay. So what was your why moment? And what I mean by your why moment is the moment where you were at work, working in finance, and it was just like, yeah, nope. Because so many people go through that and they don't know it's their why moment, right? So tell our listeners, what was the moment for you? If you could share, you don't have to share the details, but just kind of share the day that you know that you wanted to go back to school for education.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I did 2 years of finance. I did 1 year of investment banking, and then I did 1 year of private client wealth management. Totally different than education. I will say that I did learn a lot of valuable skills about kind of working with money, talking about money, being comfortable with finance, which is actually an important skill really with any business.
Yeah.
But during my second year on the side, I just felt like while I was learning a lot, I wasn't moved by what I was doing. I didn't feel motivated. I didn't feel passionate about it. So on the side, I actually started tutoring kids with learning disabilities in the evenings and on weekends. So I was doing this finance job all day during the day, and then literally running around Manhattan from apartment to apartment, working all day Sunday, to a point that I just really couldn't do it anymore. It was just too much. It was too much on me. And I just took a leap of faith. I saw this vision of creating something bigger within this sector of education. And that's when I left my finance job and just organically started to grow what I have now.
Wow. So that's what I call a why moment, why I got started. I think I'm going to start that as like a series in my podcast, but,
I love that.
I wanted to highlight that, because like I said, so many people go through that moment and they don't know it's that moment. Like, you're going to work every day and you're feeling unmotivated. It's just like, okay, this may not be for you, right?
Exactly. And I had a glimpse of what it was like to be in the sector of education from growing up with it, from observing it. So I knew that there was something more out there, and there was that feeling of being able to help people that I knew existed that I just wasn't quite getting when I was working in finance,
Yeah.
personally for me.
Okay. So can you share a little more details about the research study that you conducted for 5 years?
Sure.
And what was your findings about the children with disabilities?
Sure. So I did a research study on an alternative strategy for helping students with learning disability to develop stronger reading comprehension skills. And it involved a lot of teaching them to visualize, to create visual images, and then to take those images and create web-based diagrams of what they were visualizing. And there's a lot of research that tells us that in order to really comprehend what we're reading or what we're listening to, it's important to be able to form those visual images. And not everyone can do that. So teaching
Yeah.
them how to do that and giving them practice really can be life changing with building those key reading comprehension skills.
So let me ask you this question. When you are reading a book, right? Even in your adulthood and you're reading a book, is it is it because I like to read audiobooks. Like, I'll read, like, I need to have the physical book so I can see the words, right? But then I don't want to read it. I want to listen to it and follow along while the book is reading it to me. Is that kind of the correct way to do it, or should we be reading the words and not listening to the audiobooks? I'm just curious, because I always thought it was something wrong with the way I like to read. Once audiobooks came out, I was like, this is great.
I think it's great. I think whatever modality works for you is
Hmm.
awesome. I think in this day and age, it's so easy to not read because there's so many other activities we can do for pleasure. We can watch TV, we can go on our phones, we can read. There's so many other things to do. So if that works for you and that gets
Yeah.
you into reading, by
Hmm.
all means, I love books on tape. I think it was a great invention and I
Yes.
encourage it because it gets you reading, it exposes you to language, and it really gets a lot of those critical thinking skills in place too.
Absolutely. Okay. So, as a advocate for students, for special needs, and an entrepreneur, right? What are some challenges that you face in bridging the gap between your research, and your practical implementation and tutoring settings? Like, how do you bridge that gap?
Well, I think that running any business involves challenges. I think
Mhm.
I feel very fortunate that my business is very rewarding and we're able to help so many kids. But a lot of times there's logistical challenges of a family might want a specific schedule, a specific kind of person working with their child at a specific location.
Yeah.
And sometimes they might have unrealistic expectations for finding that perfect person who meets every little checklist. And it might be that I have this amazing, perfect tutor in mind for a student, but because they don't meet the exact logistics of scheduling, for instance, it won't work. So sometimes there are just logistical challenges that I run into that I work through and I speak to families about. But that's one example, I think, of just a challenge that sometimes gets in the way of doing what I think might be ideal for a student because of these logistical elements.
Yeah. Okay. So, speaking of difficult challenges, so we all know that entrepreneurship is a tough road. How do you stay focused and continue to move forward, because you're doing something great, right? Working with children with special needs is I feel like one of the greatest blessings that anyone can give, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a social worker, educator, tutor. So, how do you, in those moments where you're like, you know what, maybe I should just go get a 9 to 5? This is hard. Traveling back and forth from New York and New Jersey, it has to be tough, right? Especially in the winter months. So, how do you keep going?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is that when you have your own business, whether it's in education or any field, there's almost no boundaries. I'm constantly getting emails and phone calls and text messages all hours of the day, all hours of the night, all hours of the weekend. So I've really found that I have to create my own boundaries. So at a certain hour, I just shut down my email and I shut down my phone, and I usually wake up early the next day and I just take care of it then. Same thing on the weekend. If I'm with my family or if I'm at an event at my own child's school, I just
Mhm.
shut it down and I say, this is my time to be present with my family, with my kids, and then I'll get back to it when I'm able to. And that was very challenging for me for a long time. I
Mhm.
think in the beginning, when I started running my business, I would check emails all the time. And there
Mhm.
were many instances where I would read an upsetting email right before bed. And I would
Mhm.
literally be up all night thinking about this email. And so finally, I came to that realization that whatever I receive at 10 o'clock at night really doesn't need to be taken care of at 10 o'clock at night. It can be taken care of the next day. So I think just creating my own boundaries has been really helpful for me and has kept me motivated to keep going and to keep taking on new projects and moving forward and evolving and just getting better and better at what I do.
Awesome. So, see, that is a great example of creating a work-life balance as a business owner. We talk about that word so much in the corporate world, right? And working for someone, working a 9 to 5, but it doesn't get talked about in having your own business. So I'm so glad you brought up that because I am still struggling with not replying to emails at 9 o'clock at night. I feel like as a solo entrepreneur, I just gotta pull. Let me just send this one email. Let me just send this quick thing. Let me just do this quick thing. But you're right. Some things do not need a response right then and there, and it could wait. So
Exactly. And it takes willpower. It really does. Like
it
a
does.
lot of willpower to say, I'm not going to do this now. And then you get used to it and then it feels healthier and it's almost empowering when you have your own boundaries.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So, um, this is a question I like to ask everyone that comes on my podcast. And I'm gonna change it up a little bit. The questions, it was, what's your biggest failure and what did you learn from it? But I'm gonna say, what is your biggest lesson and what did you learn from it?
Gosh, I've had so many lessons along the way. I think one of the greatest lessons for me is really being a good listener and the importance of that. I think that um, before we begin working with the student, I try to always have a conversation with the family, with the parent of what they're noticing at home, what their teacher is noticing, what any evaluation has shown. And I find that I'm able to gather so much information about what a child needs, what the family is looking for, by just really staying focused and listening. And I think
Mhm.
it's very easy to be distracted. And I've done that before where I've been distracted, I've been focused on other things, and then I've missed out. And so I think really I've learned that it's important to be present and to really be a good listener, regardless of what industry you're in, but especially with mine when it comes to children and parents speaking about their child.
Yeah.
There's so much value in just really being a good listener.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay. So what are some resources that helped you along the way?
Well, I was very fortunate to have a mother who's been in the field since she was very young, and she has really been an inspiration. She still works in the field of special education down in
Really?
Florida.
Oh my
So
God.
we do chat a lot about our days and we
Okay.
deal with similar things. And actually, she's a great sounding board when I'm having a tough day or a tough problem. We'll talk it through. And likewise, she'll call me. And so it's nice to have that rapport. So she's really been a great inspiration. I'm constantly reading new research, keeping up with different organizations like the Learning Disability Association, the International Dyslexia Association. There's different ADHD organizations. I like to go to conferences and just continue to stay on top of research and stay on the cutting edge of what's new, what's working, what isn't working, so we can always provide what's optimal and what's best to every child.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So I want to go back to what you said. You said you have a mom that is within the industry. Would you consider mom your mentor?
I would consider her to be my mentor, especially when I was getting started. She was a great guiding force. She taught me so much. Now, a lot of times she comes to me for advice, I will say.
Look how the things change.
Circle of life, but I would say she'll always be my mentor. She's, no matter how you look at it, she's been in the field longer than I have, and
Mhm.
she, even though she ran a school and my spin was creating a tutoring program, there's
Mhm.
obviously so many similarities. The population of students is similar, so I would still call her my mentor, even though I've been doing it for a long time now.
Okay, yeah. That was like one of my next questions. Did you have a mentor in this industry? Only because so many people will get started in business and they don't have the foundation to be able to either afford a mentor, look for a mentor. So I like to see, how many business owners were able to get started, have people that they can talk to, bounce ideas off of, because it's always good to have some like-minded individuals within the same field as you, because you get to surround yourself about it. Sometimes it motivates you and different things like that. So
Definitely.
that's
I will say I also had another mentor who wasn't my mother, a woman named Diana King, who unfortunately has passed away. She
my,
was the founder of the first dyslexia school called the Kildonan School in upstate New York. And I
wow.
went to the Kildonan School several times. I spent time with her. She
Mhm.
was an older British woman, and she would just say it like it was. Like, this is a terrible method. Don't ever use this. This works. This is how you need to work with kids. And it was kind of refreshing in a way to just hear it
Mhm.
exactly how she felt, no nonsense. And I really learned a lot from her. She was such a guru in the field of special education, specifically dyslexia, and she really taught me a lot as well.
Wow. So guys, you hear that? I like to just highlight certain things in the industry. She had a mom who was within the industry and then she had a separate mentor. You are not locked into one person to get information from. You can pull information from different resources and then use what you need for your business. Um, that's awesome. So as we wind down, are there any certain productivity tools and softwares that you use every day to keep you on track and kind of with your social media and different things like that?
Sure. Well, in terms of day to day, I actually ended up creating our own internal database for managing the logistics. So we rely very heavily on technology on our database to stay organized in terms
Mhm.
of billing and collections and
Mhm.
sessions that have taken place. So that's been very helpful just from my own day to day management of the business. I also do post things on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. I do TikTok videos. That's a newer thing on different educational topics. So that's been fun. And I have teenage girls and they have very strong opinions on how to create a TikTok video. So that's been a fun experience involving them on that. So,
Mhm.
but I do that all myself. I sort of enjoy all of that. But I think really using technology to my advantage has helped me to stay very organized in terms of the day to day operations of running a business.
Okay. All right. So let's look ahead. What does the future hold?
Well, I'm always looking for new and exciting opportunities. In fact, there is one project that I've been working on, which is really exciting. It's called Writing Mastery, and it's a software program that's designed to help students develop stronger writing skills, starting at the sentence
Mm.
level and then going all the way up to the essay level. And then it integrates technology to score the students' writing and gives them direct feedback on what they did
Mm.
well, what they didn't do as well, so that they can improve their writing going forward. And I think historically, writing has always been very subjective. It's really something that a teacher kind of uses their opinion, or maybe they have a loose rubric that they use. But this
Mhm.
makes it much more objective. And I think there's
Okay.
such a big need for this kind of program for so many kids. So I'm really excited about it. It's done, it's being tested right now, and hoping to launch that in September.
Yay! Awesome, awesome. So I just want to thank you so much for being a part of the Business Shower podcast. And please let our listeners know where they can find you on social media.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Our website, by the way, has a ton of information about what we do, about articles I've written. That's eblcoaching.com. And then we also have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok channels at EBL Coaching.
Awesome, awesome. So again, Emily, Thank you so much for having me. And listeners out there, make sure you go and follow Emily on social media and then also check out her website.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Until next time. Peace.